Good morning, guys. Or afternoon, I guess it is. Afternoon for us.
Yeah.
Yeah, just. What? What? Oh, you forgot my mic. I'm like, look at that.
Don't worry, I'll fix it.
Thank you. There we go. Now you should be able to hear me. I know I look wonderful today. I got up, ignored my hair completely, and it behaved itself. Who knew? Usually I have to beat it into submission, but not today. We're going to have a fun day of painting. I know for some of you it's really cold and wet, and for others it's cold and snowy, and for us it's just kind of cold and gray. Kind of wishing it would snow. I really wish it would snow. I don't like it when it's cold and damp like this. I would prefer we got a good dump of snow and get it over with. And for some of you, spring is on the way. I know for us, it's hard to tell from one day to the next if it's going to be spring or not, but we'll soon find out. We're coming into March. That's usually where we start to see the weather warm up a little bit. And then by the time we hit April, most of the snow is gone. But we haven't had a whole lot of snow this winter, so it might be gone sooner than we think. I did get a ton of happy mail this week, so I have to send some shout outs and some thank yous. I got some wonderful Valentine cards, which were fabulous. One from Linda Safranco. And then I got a birthday card from Linda Morgan that was just too cute for words. It says, "Wouldn't it be great if we could put ourselves in the dryer for 10 minutes and come out wrinkle free and 3 sizes smaller?" And I thought that was awesome. It says, "Wishing you a birthday of your dreams." This was too cute for words. And I got a parcel this week from one of my favorite people, from Miss Sue Potts. She's an absolute delight. I love this woman dearly. And she had a birthday this week. Miss Sue had a birthday this week.
Well, happy birthday, Sue.
Yeah, she had a birthday and I got the presents. I got a wonderful box and it was filled with goodies. It had the wonderful little art is a painting is therapy sign. I don't know if you can see it. It's sitting on my shelf behind me.
Directly behind you.
Directly. Of course it is. Wonderful little
There you go.
scroll saw cut. It's absolutely gorgeous. I just love it. So it has found its permanent home. It's going to sit right where it is. It's the perfect location. And there were so many other things. 2 bottles of glue. Who gets excited about getting 2 bottles of glue? But I did. I got very excited. I had 2 bottles of Aleene's tacky glue. So
Snacks.
It was just, made me very happy. I get happy over the funniest things. But what really thrilled me, I have to tell you, is this. She made me this lovely card. And the note inside, it just made me all squishy. So it was just beautiful. And so, Sue, thank you so much. A very generous gift, full of goodies, a book. I love to read, so she sent me a book. A lovely book by Peter Mansbridge, which is, one of the great Canadian journalists. I miss hearing his voice on the news. Peter's Mansbridge was great, great journalist. And so I got a box full of just the sweetest goodies. Everything was so thoughtful. So I just wanted you to know how much I appreciate it. Mwah. Love you back. And Nancy Focardi sent me a goodies as well. Just added to my creepy collection was this little guy. Her daughter is a soft sculpture artist. And just the coolest thing. So she makes stuffies and soft,
Gotcha.
creative things using. Anyway, I got this. It's called the Demented Dumpling. Like, how cute is this? With a little voodoo doll inside. He is freaking adorable. So now Vinny has a friend. So these little guys are going to be sitting together for quite some time. So Nancy, thank you so much. You just made my week. Both Sue and Nancy just made my week. So just a hoot and a half to open all this stuff up. It was like Christmas and a birthday all rolled into one.
You know Peter Mansbridge has got a podcast?
No, I did not know that.
Well, now you do.
Oh, okay. I'll have to go check it out because I do love the sound of that man's voice. So we're painting a seahorse today.
Seahorse.
Yeah.
Male or female?
Doesn't matter. I'm going to go with male because he's, looking a little paunchy.
A little paunchy? Okay.
This seahorse is looking a little paunchy, so it's male. I did get a bunch of stuff in this week. We got some more seahorses in, thankfully. Those are up on the website. I also got a big shipment from Tombow with something new in it. Well, not really new, but new to me. And it's this. This is my essentials kit. So everything that I use on a regular basis every single day is in this envelope, and it contains one of my knock erasers, which I just love, a black eraser, because I love that, my favorite mechanical pencil, a set of drawing pens, and a Uniball Signo. So you've got everything that I use on a daily basis is in that kit, so we have those up on the website. And just for fun, decided to add one of these to the giveaway this week. So we're giving away one of these sets. If you put it all together, they retail for about $35 for the set. We did put them on sale on the website, but we're going to have one of these as a giveaway today. Plus, we have 3 other giveaways full of Dynasty faux squirrel brushes. So we've got a nice 3 or 4 brush set. I think it's a 4 brush set in there from Dynasty Brush of the fabulous liners, and my favorite Filbert Wave is in there as well. So there's a gorgeous set, plus a bunch of other goodies that we always throw in. So we have, in grand total, we have 4 giveaways today instead of our usual 3. So, and if you're looking for supplies, go and have a look at these. They're in the Tombow section on my website. So we're going to paint the seahorse that you see behind me here. It's called A Day by the Sea. And I've been longing to go to the beach. I've been longing to go walk the beach. I love walking the beach here. It's so cathartic. It's so relaxing just to hear the sound of the waves and the
Pebble
water.
beaches.
Pardon me?
They're pebble beaches here.
We have pebble beaches here. They're a lot of fun to walk, though. You find all sorts of interesting treasures on a pebble beach. So we're going to be painting our seahorse piece. I love this one. I love anything to do with the sea. So
What's the scoop on your brush line?
my brush line, we're hoping to have that ready for Chattanooga.
You got a brush line coming?
We have specialty sets. Yes.
With your name on it.
Well, no, I don't want my name on them.
What?
But just my selection of my specialty brushes, the brushes that I use all the time.
So it's not really your brush line.
It's not really a brush line. They're specialty sets.
Specialties.
Yes. So they'll be the sets that I use. So it'll be a
it,
good selection of brushes.
You had a line of stencil brushes.
I still do.
You still do?
Yep.
They're out
Texture
there.
stencil brushes.
Texture stencil brush.
Yep.
Oh, that's the ones with the
nubbins.
nubbins.
So if you guys are ready to get started on our Day by the Sea.
Day by the
So am I.
See if these buttons work today.
See if the buttons work.
Yeah.
Something should.
Boom. Seahorse. That's not the finished product.
No, it is not.
We got Joe Sonia's again.
I have happy juice now. This is the piece we're doing today. I love this. This is just a fun piece to paint. I love seahorses. I just think that they're very unique.
Why would you not want your name on the brush?
For the most part, putting your name on a brush limits it,
Yeah.
to a very specific sphere. If it doesn't have your name on it, then, it can be used in so many different other applications. It's like anything else. People have a tendency to think that if it's used in this way, then that's the only thing that it can be used as. So I prefer not to have my name on it. So this is the one that we're doing. And this one is super simple. I know it probably looks a lot more complex, but it really isn't. Of course, I had to use some of my favorite colors in it. So it's Bahama blue, and there's asphaltum in it, and warm white. And then on the seahorse, I chose 3 values of one color. So essentially 3 values of a deep coral. So I have this one, which is called bright salmon, which is the darker value. The mid value is coral. And then the lighter value that we have on here is coral shell, which is in that same family, but it's a lighter value of those 3 colors. So we have a very simple color palette for this one. We're also using Country Red, which is, believe it or not, our shading color. So we're using this deep Country Red, and then we're going to be using some asphaltum for toning. So it's a very simple color palette for this piece. We don't need to have a ton of colors. So that is what we're working on. So to get started, you're going to want to base coat your seahorse, the bright salmon, the darker value, the coral, which is the mid value, and then the coral shell, which is that lighter value. And then on the fin is that mid value again. So he's just blocked in with this color, and you don't need to worry too much about all the minutia at this point. So that is your base coat. And then we're going to talk about our background, because this is what we're going to work on. Now, your line drawing in the pattern for this comes with 2 seashells and a starfish. And you can pick or choose which one you'd like to do, or mix it up. You can add both if you want to integrate them somehow, but they're very basic. So I've traced and transferred on some using white graphite paper, and I've put them sporadic, just randomly across the surface. We don't need to be too structured with it. And I just used white graphite and my red pen and just trace out the seashell. And I do the basic shape first. The other thing you want to do is to avoid having the shell always just inside the surface. Make sure that 1 or 2 of them goes off the surface. As in this case, I wanted one of these shells needs to go off the surface a little bit. The reason for that is it just gives the illusion of a little continuity, that design element travels off of the surface and continues elsewhere. If it's confined to the inside of the shape, it tends to look a little static, and it doesn't have a really nice flow, and you got to have a nice flow. So we've got lovely little seashell. I just need to double check. There we go. So I have seashells. A couple of them go off the surface. You can add as many or as few as you like. I know this is really hard to see on camera, so I'm just going to tip it this way, so hopefully it'll be a little bit clearer.
Yeah, not really.
Not really. Okay. But it's just keeping them either slightly to the edge, slightly off the edge a little bit. It just gives this a nice feeling of continuity. You can put as many as you want. You can put them close together if you want to, far apart if you want to. All you're really doing is just filling in a little bit of space. And
What
then,
size is the surface?
10 inches.
10-inch circle.
Yep, the circle is 10 inches and the seahorse is 9 inches. And this looks really cute hanging on a bathroom door or at the cottage. Or just any place that you really want a beachy theme.
Or on your boat.
Around your boat. On your boat if you want to.
Your yacht. If you got one.
If you on your yacht. I'm using this stencil, which is M251. It's random polka dots. And we're going to use this to create the bubbles in between all of these little seashells.
Nope, there's Deb Antonek.
Hello, Miss Deb.
Deb says these will be up on my website later. I gotta get caught up on shipping and can ship orders as soon as they come in now.
Deb did a beautiful job cutting this piece for me. I told her what I wanted.
Boom.
And boom. Look how beautiful this is.
Where's the little seahorse?
Oh, that's the other fun thing.
I see a little one over there.
Yeah. Each of these surfaces comes with a bonus seahorse. So you can make a pin or you can add it to this if you wanted to. I just like the little seahorses. So I'm going to use a little bit of warm white.
Deb's pretty cool. That she is.
So a little bit of warm white on the palette.
And if you're looking for her website, link is in the description. Go check it out.
Yep. It's paintingwithdeb.com.
It should be a link.
It's there. So I'm using just a little bit of paint. I don't want this fully opaque. And I'm only doing a couple of little dots in various sizes, which is why I chose this particular stencil. I don't want this to be perfect. And I kind of like the idea of having a variety. Little variety of circles. These are your bubbles. Super simple. So they don't have to be perfect. They don't have to be solid. And you can have some of the teeny tiny ones too. We're just going to fill in some of the space, and I do mean just some of the space in between these shells. So as I said, they don't need to be perfect. And you're going to find there's going to be the odd one that goes off the surface. Go for it. I treat the bubbles just like you treat the seahorses and the shells. So you can pick and choose how many you want. You can have 2 or 3 or 1 or 2, depending on how busy you want your piece. I'm kind of partial to this. And as I said, these bubbles don't need to be perfect. So I think I'm going to tuck one more little bubble over here, right there. And then I think that that's enough. I don't want to have it too many. There we go. So we have bubbles. Bubbles, bubbles, bubbles. You gotta have bubbles. It's a water piece. And we're going to be using a liner quite heavily in this one. So I have my Jo Sonja's Fast Dry Glaze. And I'm going to thin out some warm white fairly heavily. I want it to come off the brush fairly smooth. So here we go. And you're going to use that thinned warm white to outline your shell. Just like that. And then you're going to outline all of the details of this shell as well. So each of the shells gets the same treatment. And then you detail all of those lines that are in your shell. And you're going to pull those lines right back to the heel of the shell, which is down here, where the hinge would be. Ooh. So we're just creating a little bit of background pattern. So when you're working, your lines aren't perfectly straight or whatnot, cut yourself a break. This is going to be in behind a whole bunch of lettering. It is going to be in behind some shading and some highlighting that's going in. So you really don't have to worry too much if it's not perfectly straight. I've managed to wobble and bobble a few of them myself, so wobbles and bobbles.
What brush are you using?
I am using a 10-aught extra long detail liner. It's a Dynasty Micron. I like this one because it's got some nice flex in the tip. And it's a little on the forgiving side. And surprisingly, for a liner, they hold a lot of paint.
Oh no, she's using Joe Sonia's fast dry glaze straight out of a bottle.
Yeah.
No water. Except for cleaning the brush.
Yeah. I love my Joe Sonias. And now that I have found a distributor that carries it consistently, I can get it. I haven't been able to get any for quite a while. Reasonably. Our biggest issue in Canada is getting things across the border. So sometimes it costs a bit. And so it was so nice to have my Canadian distributor is carrying it so I can get it. So I ordered a case. So I'm well stocked for a while.
Do you carry this brush?
I do not, but the brush guys do. And if you go to their website, thebrushguys.com, and when you check out, use the coupon code TracyM. It'll give you a nice little discount on top of. So, that's how you do these shells. Just a little outline. And just use the liner to create all of the details.
Ooh.
What?
A link? A Canadian supplier for Joe Sonia's.
It is Country Bear. And they're based in Ontario now.
I thought they were in Montreal.
No, they're in Ontario.
Oh. Who's in Montreal then?
Dessert?
Oh, it was Dessert. Dessert's also in Halifax.
Yes. And if you're in the Maritimes, well, actually, if you're anywhere in Canada, if you are looking for art supplies that ship for a reasonable price, and quality art supplies, I might add, check out Endeavors. They are based here in Fredericton. They ship all over the country. Their service is impeccable.
Can't remember if we have a link for Country Bear in the description or not.
I believe we do. The website has not changed. It's still the same.
Nope. Boop. Going to the YouTubes. Oh, look at that. Boop. Pops up.
So I'm in love with my Joe Sonia's Fast Dry Glaze. Have been for a long time. I have been hunting for, I won't say a replacement, but something similar. I've been wanting to try a variety of things because for some people it's really hard to get. And so to look for something that will do the same thing and provide you with the same, level of quality is important. So I've been trying out a few different products, and in the process, I found a couple of things that I thought you guys might be interested in. This is really cool. I did not know this until just recently. That's not it. Okay, it is not glazing medium, but while I was looking, I found these. So in Canada, we have this company called Demco. They make acrylic paints and products. This is their matte medium. Oh my gosh. Beautiful matte medium. So if you're in Canada and you can't get your hands on matte medium, if you've been trying to find it and can't get it, Have a look at this and try this one. I have been very pleasantly surprised at how well this one works. And you can get this one through Omer Dessert, and a variety of other Canadian distributors. This Demco acrylic is, their matte medium is really, really nice.
Ooh, Jessica Killen's got a great question.
Okay.
My cat dumped my fast dry glaze on my hardwood floor.
Ooh.
What do you suppose I'd...
Could clean it up with?
Yeah.
Okay. Your hardwood floor has probably got a lacquer or a oil-based finish on it, more than likely.
It's very dry.
If it's very dry, believe it or not, a little alcohol.
Vodka.
Vodka, alcohol will do it. Push comes to shove, you could use Windex. However, bear in mind that it may leave a dull spot on your floor. That's all I will say about that. Just take some care, but alcohol should do it. And then I found this. This is Liquitex. And they have a matte medium. Not only do they have a matte medium, but they have an ultra matte medium. I've been playing with both of these. They both work exceptionally well. So if you cannot find the matte medium that I use the most often, these are absolutely perfectly viable replacements for that medium. They both work exceptionally well. So just thought I'd put that out there because I have been investigating. It's hard to find product these days. It's very hard to find product. And so I wanted to give people an option. And I love my media line matte medium. But I know for some of us, it's really difficult to find it. So some alternatives are never a bad idea. So I love this background. It takes a little while to do this line work. But if you've got a good liner, it makes life so much simpler. Now, I haven't reloaded my brush yet. I just wanted you guys to notice this. That you can, with that Jo Sonja's medium, it will last quite a while. Jo Sonja's Fast Dry Glaze. Love this stuff. It keeps that paint open long enough for you to work with it. Dries quick enough that you can continue to work. But the biggest benefit, as far as I'm concerned, is the fact that it lets the paint flow so smoothly off of the brush. So it allows you a lot of control, which you ordinarily would not get with just water. Easy peasy. There we go. And then I'm going to come to the bottom and I'm going to pull a few. I like the bright white at the base. Just pull some of those lines up like that. How easy is that? A few little details along there, which doesn't have to be much. It's just, you know, a few little lines just to add a little texture. Now, if you have a white paint pen, you could use that as well. It does, it does smell funky. Yes, Linda, it does smell funky after a while. That's usually a good indicator that it's time to change it. But I keep some in a jar on my one, and yeah, it gets a little funky too. But that's usually about the time that it it starts to change color. It's gone gray, whatnot, and it's just time to freshen the pot, so to speak. Easy peasy. And it's just the acrylic. After a while, you're picking up some of the particles from the paint get in there. It just gets a little funky smelling after a bit. And it's just time to freshen it up. Mine gets pretty gungy after a bit because it has been so hard to get some, so I've been stretching it as long as I can. So yeah, it gets a little funky in that bottle. But all the particles settle to the bottom, so it's not really a big deal, but there does come a point where you need to change it. And that funky smell is a pretty good indicator. So, got a couple more shells to do, and then we shall carry on. As I said, you don't have to, I missed a spot on one here. You don't have to worry too much if these are absolutely perfect. It doesn't matter. We're going to bury them a little bit when we're done here. We're going to put a glaze over top of all of this, just to sort of set things back a little. And this is fun. As I said, you don't have to worry too much about the minutiae, whether or not they're absolutely perfect, but oopsie, there we go. These shells are just going to set the tone for the background. Wanted something watery looking, but not too heavily structured, and I didn't want to spend hours putting on a blended background. So I thought, wouldn't it be fun just to put seashells back there? So if you wanted to do this with a paint pen, you certainly could. A gel pen, I don't know would work very well. You would have to seal it before you did the glazing. But certainly it probably could work. So easy peasy. But a white paint pen would probably work fine, just as long as you had a fine one, because you don't want this too thick. If you have a seashell stamp, you could do this with white acrylic paint. You could even do this with an image transfer if you wanted to. So there's all kinds of ways that you could recreate this seashell look without actually having to sit and paint all these little white lines, but I kind of like the hand-painted look myself. Here we go. Let's see if we haven't seen any questions in here. And
Not too many questions.
Who all is with us today? Everybody. Cindy Roberts. Hello, Cindy. Thank you, Diane. I have my days, believe you me. There's days where I could make this look like the hardest thing in the world. Yesterday was one of those. Couldn't paint my way out of a brown paper bag. I'm trying to finish up a piece for a show, for the NAFTA show in New Orleans. That I'm painting for Dynasty. And it's been giving me grief. And yesterday I could not function. So hopefully tomorrow I will have a better day with it. And then I can get the sample in the mail. So it needs to be there soon. So it's going UPS. When Dynasty Brush asks me for something, which they don't do very often, I have to say, but when they do, I try to make a point of making sure that they get exactly what they ask me for, because they're incredibly generous. So they asked me to paint these shoes, so painting shoes I am. But it's not something I'm accustomed to painting. And it's not something that I would ordinarily do, which has been fun in a certain respect, but also a bit challenging. So, because it's a little outside of my usual comfort zone, but
Hubby wants to know if you could do this with colored pencils.
absolutely. Absolutely, you could do this with colored pencils. I would seal it, of course, but that's the fun part about doing something like this, is with a little bit of forethought, you could use almost any medium to do this. I like the idea of doing it with stamps. If you have a nifty seashell stamp, you could do it with white ink and then seal it. But you could do it with a white gel pen. But again, you'd have to seal it before you did the next few steps. You could do this with a colored pencil, absolutely. Again, I would seal it. But this is just a fun way to create a background that ties into the overall design theme. And when it comes to anything to do with the sea, the beach, I'm a happy camper. I love the beach. Not so much that I want to, lay around in the sun, but I like a long stretch of beach, fairly wild, so I can go walking.
Am I going to have a booth at Chattanooga?
Am I going to have a booth at Chattanooga? Probably.
They're asking if I'm going to have a booth at Chattanooga.
You're going to have a booth. Well, where I am, he am. So we'll have some new designs available at Chattanooga. And the brush sets will be available for Chattanooga. And probably some new stencil designs as well. Working on some of those. I've already got my surfaces for my classes ordered.
Wait.
And they'll be here next week, so I can start prepping. Not that there's a lot of prep, but I want to have some of it done. Oops. So that we can get everything ready to ship well ahead of time, so that we're not waiting for things. And this way, if I end up with more students, I have time to order more and prep more. Okay, I'm done. I got one more shell to do. And then we will be able to start painting. This is a lot of line work, but it is fun and integral to the end result. And particularly fun when you've got a great liner brush. There's nothing worse than trying to do something with a liner brush that won't hold any paint. You know, you're painting a long line and it stops halfway because it ran out of paint. We've all had that issue. Every one of us. But I don't have that problem with this brush. A little bit of Joe Sonia's added to it, and away you go. This brush has got really nice flex to it. It doesn't, we've all had that liner brush and you put a certain amount of pressure on it and you try to turn a corner or go make a curve. It, you know, just suddenly takes a left-hand turn and keeps on going. I don't have that problem with this brush. It has really nice return. It moves really nicely. And it gives you a lot of control, which is so important.
We should come to OKC.
I thoroughly enjoy it, but for us, the cost of going to Oklahoma is hard because of the distance. The flight, it's 4 flights to get there. Who dat? So, yeah, Oklahoma, I love going, but it is a hard one for us to get to. There we go. So almost done. Oops, made that one a bit wide. There we go. So we have seashells. I love the look of this. I just think that this white on top of that Bahama blue, it's very fresh and clean looking, and it makes for a nice, easy background. So I'm going to dry this really well. We're going to do a little bit of highlighting on here. Stars. Am I painting on shoes or am I painting shoes? I'm painting shoes. Painting on shoes. The theme is like a walkthrough type thing. So we have artists from all over the country are painting shoes for this display, and they asked me to paint a pair. So I've been having a little bit of fun with that. It's outside of my norm. I won't say it's outside of my comfort zone. What is the difference between the fast dry glaze and a regular glazing medium? This is the difference. The fast dry glaze is very thin, very watery. It dries quick, so it acts like an extender, but it closes up a lot faster than a traditional glazing medium. And so I can add this to my paint without affecting the color. I can make it thinner, but not dilute it. And there's a difference between the two things. So I use this for floating. I use it for thinning my paint for line work. I use it for making glazes, which I'm going to do on top of this. I use it for a lot of things because it gives me so much control over the paint. And it's all because of that thin viscosity. I love it. It's my favorite stuff. And I keep losing the chat. There we are. Now, net I can do. Net is an hour and a half away, for us. I can get a flight to Halifax and then off to Boston pretty quickly. So net is plausible. So I have all of these wonderful seashells. Now we're going to brighten them up a little bit. I'm going to use a 3/8 angle shader. And I'm going to dress my brush in a little of this fast dry glaze, just so that I have some, just like as if you were working with water. And I'm going to side load or tip load my angled shader as if to float, which is what I'm going to do. And I'm going to brighten the base right here. Put a nice little float of white at the base of the leaf, or base of the shell, at the hinge, right there. Just like that. So I'm going to do that to all of these shells. I just want a nice little bright hinge. Little bright spot right there. Just gives these shells a little more substance, a little more visual weight, if you will, and brightens them considerably. That little float is just a little bit. And then we're going to take that same warm white, and you see the bands where we have two close together? We're going to put a little float in that band, just like that, and walk it down just a little. It just brightens the edge of the shell a tiny bit. So now we have that nice little bright edge. And as I said, it doesn't have to be much. It just brings a little light to the outer edge of the shell. There we go. It does not have to be perfect. There we are. But it does give that shell a nice little oomph. Easy peasy. Yeah, the brush guys just got some inventory in, so they should be, I know the 3/8 are back. Thank you, Topped Up his faux squirrel. So I'm just going to quickly finish this out, and then we will move on to our next step. We're going to have a little bit of fun with this one. We're going to use the same color as our base color, that Bahama Blue, to do an overglaze. And just essentially we're going to set this back a little bit. We don't want to bury it, but you do want to sort of bind it a little bit to the background color. Just a little, doesn't have to be much. I'm a big fan of overglazing things simply because I find that they can really give you a nice uniform look to a background. And an overglaze doesn't have to be anything fancy. It doesn't have to be, a big ta-da. It can be very simple. And all it really does is it just subdues things a little bit because we're using that base color. So a little bit of Bahama Blue, a very little bit. Don't need a lot.
Rogers was back again.
Oh, joy. And then we're going to thin out that Bahama Blue with a little bit of Joe Sonia's. Or water. You can do this with water. And it's very thin, very soupy. And then you're going to apply this in one coat. Just a wash, a very soupy wash, right over top of everything that you've just done, including those bubbles. And all it does is just soften the whole look. And I'm doing this vertically because it's going to have vertical lines running through it, and that's okay.
We can call that the current.
It's just the watery effect. And it just subdues the shells a little bit. Yeah, I have done a seahorse before. I did it on a piece called Vitamin C or Seize the Day. Something like that.
You've been doing this for what, almost 3 years?
4 years.
4 years? Jeez.
Yep. So there we are. So we've got
Darn, late again.
nice soft seashells. Very pretty. And now we're going to add a nice little shadow around the outside edge. I need a new chair. This doesn't want to roll anymore.
There's a nice one upstairs.
There's a nice one there too. So I've got a little bit of mermaid tail. I love this color. This is one of my favorites. And it's a very strong color. And that's what I'm going to use to do the outside edge of this. But if you don't have mermaid tail, this is a really great alternative. Is this peacock teal. It has that depth. This one's about 1 or 2 values lighter than mermaid tail, but peacock teal will work just fine. It's Seize the Day Vitamin C. Has a starfish. Thank you.
I don't understand why starfish would have vitamin C.
Vitamin C, SEA. And it's not about the starfish. The other seahorse was my first lesson with you. I was mesmerized. I haven't missed many since. Well, that's nice. I'm glad to hear that. The seahorse is probably the easiest thing to paint in this. This is the time-consuming part, is doing this background.
There's a question about sizing of the pattern.
Okay.
See if I can find it. That was on YouTube, wasn't it? Is that on YouTube? It was on YouTube. Where's Carrie? Carrie. Hunting down the question. Seashells and starfish page won't print. Don't know. Just printed out my pattern and the seahorse and words are extremely oversized and incomplete. Is there a fix for this?
Okay, I'm not sure why that would be, because I print it from my pattern. Check the page size.
8.5 by 11.
Yeah. I don't know why that would be, but
I'm having trouble opening the membership videos. Mary Galliotto. I don't know.
we can't fix anything about that right now, so we will have a look and see what the problem might be, because that's all we can do, but we can't do it right now.
Membership.
So I've got a nice float of mermaid tail all the way around the outside edge. And then I'm going to switch back to my 3/8 angle. I'm going to rinse it out because I've got
Where's Google?
a little warm white in there. And I'm going to load my brush with a little bit of that mermaid tail. And I'm going to blend it out really well because I don't want this full strength. And this is my top. So I'm going to add a nice little highlight, or shadow, I should say. Oh, goodness. To the left side of the bubbles. Just like that. And I'm coming in just slightly from the edge of the bubbles. It's a nice little C-shaped float. Pardon the pun.
Oh, they changed their icons.
There we go. I want to have that little thin space at the edge. So nice little shadow with a float of that mermaid tail. And I'm going to rinse my brush out really well. And I'm going to pick up a little Jo Sonja's. And then a little bit of warm white. And I'm going to highlight the other side with a float of the warm white. Just like that. And again, I'm leaving that little space. Now remember, when you're floating like this, make sure you get that whole chisel edge on your surface. And that way you get a nice smooth float.
Oh, we're going to delete that little mistake.
What's that?
Oh, just...
Thinking out loud?
The last members live, we had that little hiccup.
Ah, yes. Yeah.
Delete forever.
There we go.
Sweetheart door hanger. Gotta monetize.
And then we're going to add a final highlight to all these bubbles with just a little dot of the warm white on the highlight side of that bubble. Just like that. It's just a little dot. You don't worry too much about it. This is the background. We don't need to have an absolutely perfect. Oh, I missed 2 bubbles. How did I miss 2 bubbles? Good gravy.
Kathy Elder.
So I'm going to dry this really well because it's me and I'll smear it if I don't. So I've got a little bit of Joe Sonia's on my fugly brush and a little bit of warm white, and we're going to spatter this background just with some thinned warm white. Now, how much of this you do is entirely up to you. You can do this heavy or light. That is a personal preference. I kind of like to go halfway between on this.
There we go. Let's see the members.
There we go. So I'm going to dry this really well. Because we don't want to move anything when we do this next step.
See if I can't find Mary Galliotto on my list.
There we go. So that is nice and dry. Now it's important to remember where those 2 holes are for this next part, because we're going to place our lettering. And I kind of like to have them, the word C should be lined up with those 2 holes. Now ordinarily you'd use a ruler to measure this, but we're going to use a simpler method and just guesstimate. And then you just have to make sure that it's straight and level, which it not quite.
Mary Galliotto is currently on the Create with Tracy videos membership.
So she should be able to.
She should be able to watch the videos, yeah.
Yep. So check to make sure that some of those videos.
That's what I'm about to go do. Content.
So when I'm lining up my lettering, the one thing I have to constantly keep in mind is where the seahorse is going to be. Now, I like to be able to see a little of the space behind here, and like that. So you can position him any way you want. The only thing you have to keep in mind is that you don't want to cover your lettering. That's about all. So I think I'm happy with where my lettering is. So I'm going to secure that with a little piece of painter's tape. Just like so. And it's not straight. I'm looking at it from an angle, so I gotta, pardon me while I stand this up so I'm not. Yeah, that's better. Okay. Otherwise my lettering is going uphill. Can't have that. So I'm going to use a little bit of gray graphite to transfer this line drawing on. It is just lettering. After all.
Aha.
There we go.
There's a couple of videos that are set to creating with Tracy and higher. Not
So,
creating Tracy videos and higher.
gotcha. So to transfer this lettering on, you only have to do it as a single line. So it's just as if you were writing a letter home to mom or writing your grocery list. So it doesn't have to be difficult.
Let me go back to this so I can.
I like this font. This is just a basic handwritten. It's called Hand Script. It's a very simple handwritten script, and it works very, very nicely for this type of thing. I didn't want this to have this heavy, bulky looking lettering on there because it just wasn't appropriate for this piece. I wanted to keep it light and fun. And so I went with light and fun for the fonts as well. Now the lettering down here, this block lettering that I'm using, is a very simple one. It's actually called Farmhouse. It's a very basic font. I love it. It's one of those ones that is very forgiving. It's an easy one to work with. It suits so many different subjects. So you can use it for a lot of different things.
Donna Caps has a good question. Okay, there's Donna Caps. I don't see Donna Caps.
Is Donna on Facebook?
I'm looking at the YouTube right now.
Oh, okay.
What did I miss? How do you get the members icon added to your name? Been a member since the beginning and I don't have one. Probably logged into the wrong account.
Yep.
Because it's automatic and attached to the account.
Yep. And YouTube is account based. So if you're not logged in under the account that you joined with, you won't see any of the perks and you won't see things that you're supposed to see. So I'm going to quickly, lettering traced on.
Oh, there's Donna Caps. So I want to do the background in a sand color and my seahorse in blues. Tracy,
Okay.
is that doable?
Of course. Absolutely.
Why not?
Choose your sand color. I would go with something a little bit darker than say a very light sand. There is a color called sand. I would look at something like a cobblestone and then do all this lettering in the white and then put a wash of the cobblestone over top. And then for the blues on the seahorse, I would incorporate some of that Bahama blue, but you could go into, you just need 3 values of blue. Just not a very dark one for the darkest.
And I'd use pearl essence.
Pearl essence or
For the shells?
iridescent? Yeah, you could. Absolutely. So, let me see what I got here.
Remember, Tracy, perfection is to be avoided at all costs.
Absolutely, it is. Depending on your personal tastes, of course. But I could see this. I could see this. Or I could take that one out and put Bahama blue in.
A little too light.
Oh, I don't think so.
Well,
No.
oh, there you go. Yeah.
you know, switch them out. So in this case, it would be Calypso blue for your mid value. Your dark value would be Vivid blue, and your light value would be Bahama blue.
Yeah. I thought you were just going to get rid of the lighter value and replace it with...
And then for a shading color, Prussian.
Prussian.
So I think that would be really, really pretty.
Inquiring minds. Where do you get your fonts?
I have a couple of sources. One of my favorites is Font Bundles. I have a membership there. So any font that I use in my designing, I actually purchase.
Any issues with your computer and the new fonts?
Nope.
Nope?
None whatsoever.
Cool.
What am I looking for? I came over here for something. I can't remember what it was. Country Red.
Country Red.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Ever have one of those moments? I've been having a lot of those
Yeah,
moments.
I call it my loading stage.
Is that it? Oh, yes.
Yeah,
Loading.
you just stop and you just load.
Yep. That's it. Loading now. Yep. So Country Red is my shading color for my seahorse. So I'm going to set this one aside for the time being. We'll come back and do the lettering. I want to paint the seahorse. Seahorse. Seahorse is fun. Although that sizing issue she's having bothers me. What I can do, honey, is send you a copy of it in the proper size. Although I printed mine from that pattern, so I don't know why it's doing that, but I can send you a copy in a different file if that, and
What
see
is
if that
going on
helps.
with the palette camera? Do you keep moving it?
I'm trying not to. But apparently.
Aim it down.
There we go.
That's better.
He's trying to get all my goodies in. So for the seahorse, we're going to need that polka dot stencil. Ta-da! We're going to need some lamp black and some asphalt. I'm going to put a little bit of lamp black on my palette. And I need a small stencil brush. So, this little guy is actually very simple to paint. I know he doesn't look, but he really is. We're going to start with his eyeball here. I'm going to use my stencil and one of these 1/4-inch polka dots. And I'm going to place that stencil over the eyeball and load my stencil brush with a little bit of lamp black. Voila. We have a perfectly round eye.
Hey, Judy's got her paintbrush back.
Yay!
I just changed my print.
So, our little seahorse here is going to be shaded with Country Red. So I'm going to load my 3/8 angle with a little bit of Country Red. And I'm blending this out quite a bit because we don't want this color full strength. And we're going to start right here on the head and put a float of Country Red.
Oh,
in that
that's
one.
a lovely name.
What's that?
Iris.
Iris. It's also a lovely flower.
Yes. Iris is wondering what 3 colors are base coated on the seahorse.
The 3 colors that I used for this little guy are sitting right here. And I'm going to put them in order. So my dark value is bright salmon. My mid value, conveniently enough, is in the middle, and it's coral. And then the lighter value is this one, it's coral shell. So bright salmon, coral, and coral shell are the 3 colors that we're using for this seahorse.
Boom.
So I am shading the head of my seahorse with a float of that Country Red. And apparently I can't float today. I'm just making a mess here.
I never could.
So each of those layers of the head are getting floated with Country Red. And I've thinned it out considerably. So that you have control.
What is it? There's a seahorse called the sea dragon.
Yes.
Yeah, jeez, this scary animal.
Sea dragon is beautiful.
They
First,
look like seaweed.
I had never seen one until I went to Tampa. And I went to the aquarium, and they had just this most incredible display, these beautiful vertical fish tanks on display. And I was trying to figure out what the heck I was looking at. Because it said sea dragon, but I didn't see anything in there until it blinked. And then I realized, oh my God, what I thought was seaweed was actually a sea dragon. And it was beautiful. And then from then I was just fascinated. So there is a gill plate on our little seahorse. And it gets shaded in there with a little bit of that Country Red as well. And then we're going to float all of these little dips along here. With that Country Red. This little guy is actually really easy to paint because it's just utilizing all of these values. And I know that some people are surprised by the choice of Country Red to shade all of these coral tones, but not only to shade the coral tones, but all of the coral tones. The only thing that we're changing is the strength of the color. We're using the same color all the way along. And this little guy is actually really simple as far as the design goes. It's not heavily structured, it just appears that way because we're putting in a bunch of things. So already our little guy is starting to take shape. So I'm going to put a float of that Country Red in there and on the inside of its tail, inside the curve of his tail, and then all along this area here, into those little dips in that. There we go. So at this point, he doesn't look like much, but he will. So I'm going to come back up here to his face, and this little spot in here, this little V in his face is base coated with that bright salmon, and we're going to shade into there with a little of that red. Just like that. So darkest value up towards the eye, and just let it drift out a little bit. So then we're going to take that Country Red and we're going to float the back side of each of those little bits that come off of his back, just like that. And let it run out as it comes down to the back. So just a little float. Again, use the whole chisel edge of the brush when you're doing this. You'll get a softer float. You'll get a nicer transition of color. There we go. And then we're going to come in here. Let me rinse out my brush. I'm going to pick up a little glaze and a little more country red. And we're going to float into that little curve on the fin with some country red, just like that. And now we're going to start building some texture on this little guy. I'm going to show you with a pencil. Now in the line drawing, you will notice that there's, coming from the point of each of these, there's this. There's a little line that comes off like that and goes towards the back. And we're going to do the same thing coming off of this point as well. So this is just going to give you a little direction for the structure of this seahorse. So those little lines are just going to show you where they're going to go. That's all. They don't need to be a solid line going to the back. So a float of that country red is going to go from point to point, like that. I've got too much water in my brush. Too much water, not enough paint. Try this again. There we go. Okay, so from point to point, it's a little U-shaped float, just like that. It doesn't actually have to connect anything. So it's going to create that texture in the seahorse. And it is just a little U-shaped float. It's not perfect. So it does create that nifty little texture on the seahorse. And you're going to do the same thing here. And it's that same country red on all three colors.
Finally asleep. That poor dog fights the naps.
She does. And she's grumpy when she doesn't sleep.
Fights the naps. What's going on?
So there's a couple of these I want to deepen a little bit. There we go. There we are. So again, they don't have to be perfect. They don't have to be perfectly placed either. We're just creating a little texture on our seahorse. So I'm going to load up with some country red again. Now remember the gill plate, the shadow is backwards. We're going to do the same thing here. Only this time the shadow's going in the other direction. I've missed it. There we go. I got it on the wrong side. Here we go. So that it lines up with that little tidbit that's on the back here. not showing up that well. There we go.
Yes, Rose, you can get these on tracymonroe.net or paintingwithdeb.com. That's where you can get the wood pieces. I'm seeing at how many?
I think there's only 6 or 7 left.
Only
They
6
don't
or
last
7.
long.
They don't last. Anytime you get a new surface in, they don't last long.
No. And I haven't figured out the magic number yet. I know there has to be one. The cardinals. I thought 144 would be plenty. I was wrong.
Oh. I guess I fixed it. I guess the video she was trying to watch was set for...
Oh, for just the membership group only? Not the videos, yeah.
Not the video group.
Yep. Yeah, it does. I don't know why. And same with the monetization. It decides for whatever reason. Nope. Yes. Our channel is monetized. You get commercials on it when you're watching videos, but they're skippable. We've made them so that you can opt out of watching them if you want to. And somebody asked me the other day if we get paid for that. Well, yes, we do.
If the ad is skipped, we don't get paid.
Yeah, if you skip the ad, we don't make anything off of it.
But we gave you the option.
Yeah. So yeah, you can skip them. I get it. I don't like them either.
Kids.
I do.
You didn't show those.
No, I did not.
Who painted kids?
I did.
You painted those?
Yes, those are for the show in
Chattanooga?
No, at NAMTA in New Orleans next month.
You're going to New Orleans?
No, the shoes are.
Oh, the shoes are. Okay.
The shoes are going to New Orleans. I wish I was going to New Orleans. I would love to go to New Orleans.
They asked you to paint a pair of
Parakeets, yes.
Ah.
So I've got all my shading in place. It's not heavily structured. It's just the only place that they go backwards is on this side. So now we have to start highlighting. And I do like to make things simple. So our highlighting color is this, coral shell. And this is just going to help us create a nice soft look. And so opposite all of those shadings, I'm going to put a little float of coral shell. Just like that. This just makes him look a little pointy and a little... I don't like to use the word mechanical, but seahorses kind of have that almost robot look to them. There's a nifty little effect that they have. So we're putting a little float of that coral shell.
But the ads give me time to get a bite to eat or drink.
Yeah.
That's fair.
And those ads let us keep doing this.
Yeah.
Let's have the battle. We've always wanted to keep this free, so it's...
52 classes in a year.
Yeah.
Well, 104, really.
Yeah. Well, I mean...
Plus the ones you do on Facebook.
I did the math the other day, and it was something ridiculously... I do on average 6 patterns a month. On average. Sometimes more, sometimes less. But average 6 patterns a month.
Wow.
And so when I sat and I thought about it, I went, that's a lot. but it's just so much fun. Why wouldn't you do it?
If you enjoy doing it.
You know, I'm doing it anyway. I'm going to sit here and paint and create. Might as well, you know. But it's fun. I get to share it with everybody. So this is a blast.
That, and there's the exclusivity of the members as well.
Yeah, and that's fun. I love doing that. And we've got great fun coming up for March because it's Arts and Crafts Month.
Is that official?
Yes, it is.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. It's Craft Month. Arts and Craft Month. That's one of the...
That's overachieving.
I'm an overachiever. It's 6 patterns a month. I don't know. Sometimes I look at it and go, oh, geez, I've done nothing this month. Sometimes. But sometimes it feels like I don't get anywhere near enough time to sit and paint. But then when I stop and think about it, it's like, okay, I did.
Miss Deb Daniker is wondering what color to use for the coral and salmon if you don't have them.
Oh, you know what? Hang on.
Oh, she got an answer for
I
you.
do have an answer. Of course I have an answer.
She's a mom. She always has an answer.
Okay. So if you don't have the coral and the salmon, go down a bit. So come down in value a little. So for your base color, coral blush, which is that darker value. For your mid value, melon. And then for the lighter value, you can either use the coral shell or you could go more into a pink and use cotton candy.
Boom.
Boom. It'll just change the value slightly, but that's all. I'm not the least bit worried about changing the color palette slightly. So putting a little highlight in a few places, got a few places I need to brighten. And then I'm going to come over here to this part on that lighter value, and we're going to use a little bit of warm white. Now I'm using a dirty brush, but that's okay.
Oh, we're going to Norma Luther's house for dinner.
What's she having?
She's having shrimp tacos, coleslaw, and yellow rice.
Yum.
It sounds delicious.
It does.
But we're having spaghetti.
We're having spaghetti bolognese.
Yum. We're having scatty.
And then Sunday we're having tacos.
Sunday I'm at work.
I know. But you're home for supper.
I can be.
Yeah, you can be. If you want tacos.
If I want tacos, yeah, fair enough.
Yep, spaghetti bolognese tonight.
Shrimp tacos, coleslaw, and yellow rice.
I'm thinking we have to do that this week.
Shrimp tacos?
Well, maybe not shrimp tacos, but
Fish tacos?
fish tacos.
I'm down for fish tacos.
I love fish tacos. Anytime there's fish, I have to cook something with chicken because Dominic does not eat fish, so it's all good.
I like fish tacos. They are delicious. Both crunchy and soft.
I've got So we've got some nice highlights in. I'm going to come out here to the edge of the fin with a little bit of warm white and see if I can do this properly. There we go. And I'm just putting a nice little float right at the edge of that fin so that it's a nice bright float right there. And then we have to add some highlights to the nose area. Yeah. Little float of white. And a little highlight at the top of these little bits here. Now, for the eye, we're going to use a little float of warm white just in from the edge of the eyeball. Nice little C-shaped float. Pardon the pun.
Ugh. Ow.
On the eyeball.
Oh, Norma Luther is wondering, how do you make your chicken pot pie that Renee loves so much? Because I hate chicken pot pie. Except my mom's.
I usually use my leftover chicken from a roasted chicken, and I keep my gravy. So I make my stock, boil the chicken down, take all the bones off and whatnot, and then I put my chicken aside and let it cool, and I cube that, small pieces. And then I dice carrots, and I dice celery and onion, and then I dice my potatoes. Everything's roughly the same size, about 1/2 inch or so. Nothing too big. And then I put all of that in a pot, and I bring it to a simmer. Add a little bit of chicken stock to it, some rosemary, a little bit of thyme. Let it simmer until the potatoes and vegetables are just tender. And then I thicken the sauce that's with it to make the gravy. And then I take it off the stove, let it sit, and then I make my pastry, which is just a standard pie pastry, but the bottom one has to be thick. Make the bottom one thick. And then once it's all ready to go and I have my top rolled out and ready to, I use the filling for the pie. I put it into the pie, top it up, put the top on, brush the top with
Butter.
Eggs. I brush it with eggs.
Butter.
And then I season the top of the crust with a little bit of salt. And then I set it into an oven at 415. And it's in there for about 30 minutes.
We need a Tracy cookbook. I agree. Based on how she cooks, she could have like 3 or 4 cookbooks. Or one big one. And a lot. The funny thing is, I know where all her recipes came from.
No, you don't.
No, okay, not all of them. A lot of them came from The Joy of Cooking from, 1930 something?
Yep.
And there's...
And I just modernized them, that's all.
Yeah, it's like you don't
Some
use
of
lard
them.
as often as you did then.
No. A lot of my recipes are my mother's, or my grandmother's,
Or Mamea's.
or my mayor's. And I've adjusted accordingly. Some of them.
And some of them are your own.
And some are my own, so. But I like to cook.
She enjoys cooking. Until she doesn't.
I don't like making things like, well, I shouldn't say I don't like it. I don't enjoy making things like hamburgers and hot dogs. That's not cooking. Not to me, it isn't.
It is.
No.
Well, if you go to the extent I do when I make burgers.
Yeah. But for me, making a burger is not that,
Shouldn't be that.
I don't know. But it's also not a food that I particularly crave, you know?
I crave burgers.
You crave food.
I enjoy a good burger.
Yeah. I like to spend time in my kitchen, so I enjoy
The smells, the textures.
the smells, the textures, the tastes. I'm happiest when I can dress my own chickens, and I like to cook.
She's weird.
It's the process. It's like painting. I love the process of painting. So I'm just finishing off a few little highlights at the bottom here that I had neglected to do. Just putting them in nice and soft. I don't need them to be really harsh. There we go. They do need to have a little highlight there. And then I have one last step to do to all of this. I need to go back in and deepen some of these shadings with a little bit of asphaltum. Uh-oh, the teenager's awake.
She's not quite.
She's close enough,
She's
believe me.
close. She's close enough. Yeah.
She has an attitude.
10 more days and she's 6 months old.
And she talks back.
She is sassy.
Yeah, she is sassy. There's no doubt about that. Okay, so I've got all those little highlights in.
Speaking of sassy.
Speaking of sass, yep, there she is. It's awake. Even Satan is going, oh no. She's awake. So, pretty cute little seahorse. So, asphaltum. Somebody asked me the other day if there was a color they could use instead of asphaltum. And I generally will say no, not really. But I discovered how wrong I was the other day.
Ooh. Would you rather paint than cook?
Tough question. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would. If I had to give one up,
Be the cooking?
it'd be the cooking.
Okay.
I could hire somebody to do that. You know? But, okay, so somebody asked me the other day if there was a substitute for asphaltum.
No.
And I said no. And now I have to retract that.
There is a substitute. Oh, no.
However, there's a caveat to that.
Yeah.
It is extremely strong. So I'm going to brush this out. Super thin.
Tracy told the truth.
Well, I don't like to say yes and then not be able to back it up. However, having said that, and I have to thank Luke at Endeavors for this.
Really?
I do. So I had sent in an order for, I had a few things I needed, but I was looking for glazing medium and I was looking for a few other things. And he sent me some samples. And one of the samples he sent me was this. This is Van Dyke Brown Hue in golden fluid acrylic.
Okay.
And this is, without a doubt, the closest I can come to asphaltum in another, as a replacement for asphaltum. But you have to thin it out a lot because it's a very strong color. It's very highly pigmented, this stuff, but
it works in a pinch?
it works in a pinch. And that's what I am floating with right now.
Are you liking it?
I am liking it. Now, it is not asphaltum. It's a little browner, a little deeper. It is a very strong and highly pigmented, but it does the same thing. It just tones those colors nicely. So it isn't uncontrollable. You have to thin it out quite a bit because it's strong, but it does precisely what asphaltum does. So in a pinch,
Kind of looks like burnt umber.
no. Burnt umber has a reddish undertone. This has a yellow undertone. So burnt umber and Van Dyke Brown are not even close. So yeah, and I would not have thought of Van Dyke Brown, to be perfectly honest, because it is such a strong color. But in this fluid acrylic, being able to thin it as much as I can, as I have, it works just fine. So that's with the Van Dyke Brown. I'm going to rinse out my brush and I'll show you with the asphaltum. Now there is a slight difference in the two. Asphaltum is going to be a little bit lighter. It's not as an intense brown as the Van Dyke. But when I put them side by side, there is very little difference. For the way that I use it. And that Van Dyke has that nice yellowish undertone or that golden undertone that I like. and which is the reason that I use asphaltum. So it works
A
very nicely.
shrimp-colored seahorse.
Shrimp-colored seahorse. Yes, ma'am.
And shrimp are only that color after you cook them.
Yep. I don't know what color seahorses are after you cook them. And honestly, I don't want to find out because I would never cook a seahorse.
Yeah.
Little fellas are endangered. So yes, if you are looking for something to take the place of asphaltum and you can't find it locally, I do know that these fluid acrylics are excellent. These golden fluid acrylics. But that Van Dyke brown hue is certainly a viable substitute. Just saying. So I just, wherever I've put a float to shade, I go in and I just tone all of that country red and all of those shaded areas with a little float of asphaltum, or in this case, a little bit of Van Dyke brown. So I'm going to start adding a few little details to this little guy. And this is the fun part because this is just so easy. I'm going to use the handle on my rigger for this part. I'm going to start with some country red. And I'm going to start at the back of the head here. And we're going to put a series of dip dots. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Moink.
We're just going to put a few little dip dots of the country red like this. Doesn't have to be perfect. I kind of like the dip dot on those little things coming off the back. This just adds an element of texture to our seahorse. And again, they don't have to be perfect. And just as the spaces get smaller, reduce the number. Just like that. Easy peasy. And then we're going to repeat that with the other colors. And this just helps us create all of those wonderful textures in our seahorse. How fun. So we've got lots of little dip dots in there. I'm going to switch from the country red and I'm going to use that lighter value. And I'm going to add a couple of dip dots in various sizes in there. Again, just sort of keep in mind the amount of space that you have. Some big, some are small. This just creates some fun, interesting textures. I do like dip dots. I think that they create some fun elements to this.
Do, do, do. I need the wheel. That is not the wheel.
And he's having wheel issues.
They're real issues.
They're real issues. Real wheel issues.
Holy Pope.
What?
That's a lot of names.
How many?
211.
Nice. So our giveaways today, as I said, we've got a set of my essentials, my design essentials. They're giving away. Those are like $33, $34 a set. And then we also have 3 sets of the Dynasty Faux Squirrel liners and filbert sets in there. So look at that, we have dip dots. Now I'm going to use the business end of my liner and a little bit of warm white, if I can find my bottle paint. We need to add a few little highlights to this.
Linda. Now this would be a great dibs piece. Just saying.
Subtle, Linda.
Subtle. Very subtle, Linda.
So I'm going to add just a couple of little white dip dots in and amongst. I don't want to do too many because it'll take away from what we've already done, but we need to put a few little white dots in there.
Gloria Peter says, you are so talented.
Thank you. I appreciate that. So, having a little bit of fun with the dip dots here. You can get carried away, and by all means do. It just adds a little more texture to it. Ooh. And then while I have the white on my brush, we're going to add a highlight to the edges of our little seahorse here. I'm going to turn him upside down. I'm going to use just the edge of that brush loaded with white, just to rub a little white along the top edge. Oops, I messed that one up. There we go. Let's try this again. There we go. So just a little bit. I'm going to do the same thing on the points and the belly. Right here. I'm just dragging the edge of the brush along there just to add a little highlight. And don't be afraid to do that on here too. Just drag the edge of the brush along so it adds a little bit of white. And you can brighten the highlight here where those colors join with a little stroke of white.
Well, a few people also agree it'd be a great dibs piece.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Linda wasn't the only one. Just saying. And I'm going to put a little highlight right along this nose piece here. A little thin little line. Darlene Cartmel says, thank you. Another great Saturday paint.
Well, thank you. So I'm just using that little bit of white on my brush to add a little tiny highlight to the edges, like so. It's going to be fun. So I'm going to pick up a little bit of warm white because we need to put a highlight on these eyeballs. Because once we put that little dot on there, I'm going to use 2 little dots. He kind of comes to life a little bit more. Bing. Now he's got eyeballs.
And he's looking right at you.
So I'm going to load my 3/8 angle with a little bit of warm white just on the tip of the brush. Don't need a lot. And I'm going to blend it out, but we're going to stand the brush on its chisel edge, like so. And I'm just going to tap and pull back. So I'm touching the edge and then pulling back towards the body of the seahorse. And what it does is it creates that sort of ruffled texture at the edge of his fin. So I'm going to dry this real quick. And then we're going to use that black gel pen to add the final little details to our seahorse. I like the sketchy little details. I think he looks pretty good. I think it'd be cool done in...
He's a very cute seahorse.
He's a very cute seahorse. So I've got my little gel pen. I like using this. I just like putting these little sketchy details along these areas here. Nothing too hard edged. I don't want them solid. I like that, the lighter look. So just sketchy. Do the same thing around these areas here. Again, they don't have to be perfectly on the line. I just like the sketchy look. Just that simple. All those little details around the head and on the gill plate. When you put this little bit of ink in there, it does wonders for the piece. It just softens everything. And I'm going to do the same thing around the eye. And then I'm going to come over here to the fin. And I'm going to go in the opposite direction, add a few little sketchy details going out towards, like so. And again, just to keep it light and not so heavily structured, I like this little squiggly line. It just gives things a nice soft look. But again, don't fret. So our little seahorse is about ready for the final thing, and that is to take our fugly brush and a little bit of warm white. And we're just going to lightly spatter our seahorse a little bit. Now, I could see this little guy getting a coat of iridescent varnish or even a glitter varnish or just glitter. Nothing? No comment? No glitter. I was sitting here torturing him with thoughts of glitter and he's ignoring me.
No.
So there is our little seahorse. Now, the fun part about this is you'll notice that I don't have a lot of paint on the outside edge. So you could use a marker to finish that off. I kind of like leaving it dark. It just helps with the elevation part of this when we put it onto our finished plaque. So I'm going to set this little guy aside to dry completely. And then while that's drying, we're going to handle the lettering. Now, I kept this as simple as I possibly could for a couple of reasons. One, I don't think that it needs to be too elaborate. But we are going to do a couple of things just to make this lettering stand out nicely. I'm going to use a little bit of mermaid tail, which is that strong blue that we used around the outside edge. I love mermaid tail. It's just such a gorgeous color. And we're going to put a float of that mermaid tail up against the lettering like this.
Is there any glitter left from the beard? Still finding it on the floor. Just saying.
So little float to the right side of our lettering. Just a little, like so. And it's just a little float of that mermaid tail. So do that on all aspects of this lettering, like so. And then we're going to come up to this script and do the same thing. The nice part about working on this script is that you can take that float right to the edge of the line, like right onto the line. It doesn't hurt it. It doesn't have to be perfect. So that little float is going to do wonderful things for this lettering. And because we're going to be using something really fun for this, I'm going to show you something fun. Oopsie daisy. There we go. So, always to the right side. All the vertical, horizontal lines, like the verticals, you want to get that little float up against those, inside those curves. Easy peasy. It works up quick. You don't have to putz with it too much. Just get that float in there. As I said, it doesn't have to be perfect. The biggest thing you have to worry about is just keeping it consistent. That's about the only thing you really have to worry about. So we've got shading in and around all of our lettering, all the verticals, except one. I missed one. Hello, right there.
Patrick is wondering, why is it better to float the letters prior to painting the actual lettering?
Because when I put the base color down for the lettering, if in any place that this shadow overlaps the lettering, is going to be hidden, and it just gives you a cleaner finish in the end. So I'm working with a number 2 or a number 0 rigger for this, and our base color is warm white. And I'm going to base coat my lettering with this warm white. And I'm going to come right up to the edge of that lettering as tight as I can. The nice thing about working with a rigger for doing your lettering is that the brush can fill that space easily. So you don't have to do this in 5 or 6 passes. You can generally do this in one go. Easy. And that 0 fits perfectly in this lettering. Now, you can use the rigger to paint this smaller font. I'm going to show you a new toy that I got that is perfect for this kind of thing. And you can get them almost anywhere. This is why I like to do that float first, so that when I'm finishing my lettering, I get that nice clean line. Just like that. Now, you can paint this lettering with 2 or 3 coats of white, or you can do it in one. I rather like the one coat. If I pull out the paint all in the same direction, the one coat will work. So if I pull it in the shape of the letter, follow the flow of the letter. Same with the verticals and the horizontal. You will find that you don't have to have an absolutely perfect opaque finish because you're going to distress this anyway. So if you can get 1 or 2 coats in, you're good. So there we go. I like this lettering. It stands out nicely against that. So I'm going to dry this real quick, and then we're going to shade the bottom of the letter with a little bit of the background color, which is that Bahama blue. But before we start doing that, I'm going to erase some graphite lines from this lettering. But I want that paint to be nice and dry before I do that. Oh, can't find my mono eraser. Where's my nail black? There it is. Okay, can't find my mono, but this will do. So this is my black eraser. I swear by these. Either the Tombow Mono or the Factus Black, either one. And the reason I swear by them is simple, because they work. They don't damage your paint. You can erase graphite lines easily. You're not having to scrub away at them. And it doesn't polish your background. It doesn't polish your surface. So it doesn't mess up your paint, which is the big deal to me. So I've cleaned up my graphite lines. I'm going to rinse out my brush. And we're going to use a little bit of Bahama blue to shade the bottom of the lettering. Just a little. Doesn't need to be perfect. But I just want to give this lettering a nice little watery effect at the bottom. So a little float of Bahama blue at the bottom of the lettering. Just like so. And it's coming up about halfway. It's weak. It's not a strong float. It's just enough to change the color of the lettering slightly. So I'm going to dry that. And then we're going to use a little bit of heavily thinned asphaltum to deepen that float at the bottom, the very bottom of the lettering. And that's only going to come about halfway up the Bahama blue. You don't need to make it very strong. And it doesn't have to go far, but it is going to make this lettering jump off the surface. So there we go. A little bit of asphaltum. And then I'm going to grab my Identi-Pen. I had to read it. Oh, this isn't my Identi-Pen. This is the other one. It was sitting right there. So I'm going to put a dark line right on the edge of each letter, like so. Very thin. You don't want it strong at all. I just like the Identi-Pen for this. Nice little line. A little bit there. And we're going to do that to all of these letters. Just a nice thin dark line. It just helps elevate this lettering a little bit. Easy peasy. It's a thin dark line, so this one is dying. Okay. There we go. So that little tiny line just helps make this lettering stand up a little bit.
Linda Morgan just got Happy Mail.
Oh, did she? Good.
And apparently it's from you.
Yep. So there is our C. Stands out nicely, but it doesn't come screaming off of there. So now I'm going to use my new toy to do this because I'm in love with this new toy. And I'm going to keep this one handy because I'm going to use that too. This is a Posca pen. This is the fine tip Posca pens. I love these. These are so much fun to work with. And they have that really nice sharp point, so it makes them easy. Of course, I gotta shake it really well and then prime it. So these are acrylic paint pens. It's like working with a giant Sharpie, but it's paint. And then you can literally just go right over top of all of your graphite with the Posca pen. Now you can do this with the rigger as well. But I have to say this one, using this Posca pen has been kind of addictive. I got myself a set with a 40% off coupon at Michael's. And I've been trying to find all sorts of ways to use it because I really like them. And they do work very smoothly, I have to say. And they are nicely opaque. And because they're an acrylic paint, they're perfectly compatible with all of your Americanas. So no issues with compatibility. Like anything else, though, I still spray everything because I use, Identipens, I use gel pens, and I throw in something fun like these Posca pens. You never know what's going to misbehave.
Do you have an Identipen in front of you?
I don't, but it's the third time I've said it, so I remembered. I had to see it, but I remembered.
Maze is awake. Yes.
Yes. Satan headed for the hills. She keeps eyeballing the cat door. So I'm going to dry this.
Jessica's giving you an applause.
Oh, is she? But
Yep.
I remembered to call it an Identipen?
But you didn't have one in front of you.
No, I didn't. I picked it up thinking that it was an Identipen, but it wasn't. It was this one.
Ta-da.
Same thing, only different. So once your Posca ink or paint is dry, you're going to take your Identipen, and we're going to do the same thing to this lettering that we did with the other. So on all of the right sides, we're going to put a thin black line.
Can Maze fit in the cat door?
She
tries.
Yeah.
We stop her before she can actually get all the way through. So I don't know if she could still fit.
But she makes the effort.
But she makes the effort.
Yeah. The front end will go through. I don't know about the back end.
Yeah, she's got some legs on her. I think if she straightened out her hind legs,
Yeah.
yeah, she'd get through.
So that little dark line just helps that lettering stand out a little bit more. Nothing heals like a day by the sea. So I like those thin black lines. In this particular case, they work very well.
Only 8 watching? What?
Did I overstay my welcome?
No. Apparently on YouTube, you only have 8 likes, but there's 139 people watching.
Oh, how are they going to get their name on the wheel?
Yeah.
Gotta get your name on the wheel.
I think you got more than 8 likes.
I think so. Hope so. So there we go. Nothing heals like a day by the sea.
Yeah, I see 129.
So I have a bunch of little bits that I keep. Just little pieces of wood, wooden buttons and whatnot that I keep handy. And they come in handy for stuff like this. So I've got my seahorse. And I have tacky glue. Is it wrong to be so happy about something?
No.
As glue? Most people don't get excited about glue. I get excited about glue.
I got excited about your computer parts.
Yes, this is true.
So it only makes sense.
Yeah. So I have glue. So I've got 2 of these little wooden pieces. I'm going to put one on the belly, on the back of our seahorse. And I'm going to put the other one inside the head, right about here. Comme ça.
Whatever floats your boat.
Whatever blows your hair back. So these 2 points are where I'm going to adhere my seahorse to my piece. And I'm going to put a fairly generous dollop of tacky glue on there. Close that up. Glue brought to you by Supots. Thank you. And as I said, you can pick and choose where you want your seahorse to go. But I kind of like mine right about there. I'm going to lift him up a little bit. There. Now, I use those 2 little bits of wood just to give him a little elevation. You don't have to do that. You could glue it directly to the surface if you chose to. It would be fine. I just kind of like the elevation. I like the little shadows that it casts. And there you have this fun little piece. I'm going to put my scribblature down here. And that is a day by the sea.
A whole day?
A whole day.
A whole day by the sea.
There's nothing better than
Fish
a whole
tacos
day.
and margaritas.
Well, I suppose everybody has their thing. I just realized I messed up a little bit here.
Uh-oh.
I'm going to move this forward. I had it in the wrong place, so it was sitting right on the... There we go. Now we're cooking with gas.
Good thing you got that before the glue set.
That's the nice thing about tacky glues. It lets you work with things a little bit. So, there we go.
Yay!
So much fun. It is a fun one to paint.
Face cam.
A day by the sea. I don't know. For me, a day walking on the beach just... nothing heals like a day by the sea. So this is a fun little piece to paint.
Except the emergency room.
Except the emergency room. Yeah, I don't like spending time in the
Well,
emergency room.
there's a difference, psychological and emotional damage versus physical.
It's true. Yeah. I don't like going to the emergency room, but I will.
Because if you go in the emergency room for the problems that ails you that could be solved by the beach,
Yeah.
you end up in a psych ward.
That's true.
So
Yeah.
just go to the
I'll take
beach.
the beach. Yeah. As long as my my jacket doesn't buckle in the back, we're all good. So Renee has got the wheel loaded, I'm assuming.
Give me one momento. Uno momento. If I can, there we go. Click the wheel. Why are you so small, wheel?
Don't ask me. I have no idea.
What happens if I do this? I don't know. I can't see the screen.
Oh my goodness. I guess it's small. It needs to be bigger than that. There you go.
What?
Nope.
I broke it.
You broke it.
I done broke it.
Well, spin it before it breaks again.
I broke it.
Okay, so just to recap, you've got one of these. We're giving away one of these today. This is my essential set. It has everything that I use on a daily basis in it for designing and for working. And it has a Tombow Knock Eraser, which works like a mechanical pencil. They're fantastic. And one of the mono mechanical pencils, which I absolutely love. Okay.
That work?
That looks like it'll work.
Spinning.
And then there's a set of the Tombow Mono drawing pens, which are my favorite. And then, of course, one of my Uniball Signon black gel pens. So we have one of those to give away. And then we have 3 sets of Dynasty Faux Squirrel liners and Wave Filberts. And then, of course, there's always some other goodies in there as well. So
Wendy Warner.
Wendy Warner is our first winner.
And nailed it.
Okay. Are you sure?
Nope.
I didn't think so. So, Wendy, you've won one of the Dynasty Faux Squirrel sets. And so go to the website, click on the little speech bubble or in the contact us button and send us your shipping information so that we can get this out to you as quickly as possible.
Which one's which?
The first 3, the bottom 3.
Bottom 3?
Yeah.
Give me a second. I got this.
You got this?
There we go. Clickety and clackety.
It takes up the whole freaking screen.
Yeah, I got the room. I'm going to use it.
Okay.
Bonnie Duncan.
Right on, Bonnie. So Bonnie's got a set of Dynasty Faux Squirrel liners and Wave Filbert and a bunch of other goodies that we toss in.
Bonnie.
And we have one more brush set to give away.
Hurrah! And this is for the last brush set. Set. Bleh. Mary Montoya.
Awesome. Said that like it was a wrestling venue.
I was thinking more like Princess Bride.
Okay. Just what the heck did you put in your coffee this morning?
Tequila.
Tequila. That's what everybody needs. Everybody's so pretty today.
Everybody's my friend.
And then we have one last spin of the wheel for this
Number 4.
Tracy's Essentials.
Tracy's Essentials. And if you don't win it, it's available on the website if you want it.
Yeah.
And McGaw.
Right on. And it's one of our members. Fabulous. I really love these.
And McGaw gets the Tombow kit.
Yep. Awesome. So thanks everybody for joining us as you do every Saturday. We greatly appreciate it, and we're so happy to have you with us. So if you are not subscribed to my YouTube channel, please do so. Hit the big red subscribe button and turn on your bell notifications so that you know when we go live or whenever we post new video. We are also live on Facebook on Tracy Morrow Live, and everybody that watches us there, mwah, we love ya. Thanks so much for watching. And don't forget to hit the follow button on the Tracy Morrow Live page or on my page, either one. I'm perfectly happy to have you follow along. So come and join us here every Saturday at 12 noon Eastern Standard Time. We paint here every week, and we try to give you something new, something fun to paint, and hopefully you'll enjoy us. And I know that we have so many of you come back every Saturday, and we love and appreciate it. So everybody have a great weekend. Please stay safe if you're in line for some of the horrible weather that's forming. And if you're Canadian, keep your stick on the ice. We love you.
Thanks, Bob.
See you again soon.
Bob and Doug McKenzie. If you don't know,
Keep your stick on.
you're American.
Yeah. It's a Canadianism.
It's a Canadianism. Bob and Doug McKenzie.
Yeah.
Yeah, go pet your dog
Yeah.
and your cat and your horse. Go pet your animals.
Yeah. Love your animals.
Love your animal. I think this is the button that
Is
does.
that the button?
I think
You
it
got
does
it
the
this
thing.
time?
I think it does the thing.
It does the thing. Goodbye, everybody.
And we're out. Oh, you are. Oh, come on, button.